Hi. Magnus Carlsen won the Grand Chess Tour Croatia Rapid and Blitz by 2.5 points margin. Once again, he showed us why he's the best. He won 10 Grand Chess Tour titles out of 12. Now we are just going to see two of Magnus' games. This game is against Firoza. Firoza played with white pieces and Magnus played with black pieces. E5, knight of 3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, d3, bishop e7, castle, castle, knight c3, b6, a4, a5, rook e1, bishop e6, knight d5. Here Magnus played h6 to prevent knight g5, c3, rook e8, queen b3, threatening to win the pawn on b7, so rook b8. And Firoza played h3, and Magnus played bishop f8, clearing the square for his knight. Bishop e3, bishop takes d5, e takes d5, and knight e7. And Firoza played bishop a7. He's trying to win the pawn on b7. So rook a8, queen takes b7. Anyway, Magnus can get the pawn back easily with queen c8. Rook takes c8. Now Firoza has to save his bishop, and Magnus can win the pawn back on d5. So bishop d2, knight b6, bishop b3, c5, d4, c takes d4, c takes d4, and e4. For knight h4, Magnus played knight c4, blocking this bishop's diagonal and also threatening to win the bishop and also the pawn on b2. So Firoza played bishop c3 and g6, preventing knight f5. And also, this bishop will jump to the g7 so that it can attack the pawn on d4. So g3, knight d5, good move. Now, obviously, capturing this pawn is not possible because if you play rook takes e4, knight takes c3, pawn takes c3, and knight d2 fork will come. So, rook c1 and rook b8 threatening to win the bishop on b3, bishop a2, knight takes c3, rook takes c3, and d5, protecting the pawn and also the knight on c4. So, rook e2 defending this pawn on b2, bishop g7 threatening to win the pawn on d4 once again, and bishop takes c4, rook takes c4, rook takes c4, pawn takes c4. So, obviously, this is not the best move. Rook takes e4 is the best move. But Firoza tried to protect both pawns. So, he just played rook d2. Here, rook b3. Once again, the best move is rook b4, but Magnus played rook d3. Both players are in time pressure in this position. So, rook d3, best move. Rook c2, bishop takes d4. After king f1, once again, c3 and rook f3. These are the best moves, but Magnus played f5, which is actually a mistake. Yeah, both were in time pressure. That's why. And rook takes c4, rook d2. Once again, Firoza made a mistake. Actually, knight e3 is fine. Still, it's equal. But he made a mistake by playing knight f4. Now it's completely losing for white. And knight d4, e3. Obviously, capturing this pawn is not possible because of rook f2 check, and black can win the knight. So, knight e2, once again f4. Again, knight takes f4 is not possible because of rook f2 check. So, rook c3, f3, rook takes e3, pawn takes e2. And this position is hopeless for white because black is clearly a piece up. So, Firoza resigned. And everyone was expecting the final game between Gukesh and Carlsen. But Gukesh played safe and went for an easy draw with white pieces. Gukesh played e4, Magnus played e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, knight f6. So it's Berlin, knight d6. And here Gukesh played d takes e5. Yes, white loses the bishop, but after a4, this knight is anyway trapped. So white can get the piece back. And this is actually a draw line. Pattern and knight takes d4, queen takes d4, queen takes d6. And here Gukesh just went for a draw. On the other hand, Prague played a fighting game with black pieces. Even at some point, Prague had a winning position, but in time pressure, he was not able to convert it, and that game ended in a draw. And Magnus Carlsen scored 22.5 points and won the tournament. Wesley So scored 20 points and finished second, and Gukesh finished third with 19.5 points. Soon, we are going to see Magnus in action in freestyle chess. Hope you enjoyed this video. Do subscribe for chess improvement content. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.